4 games in, and suddenly your whole future feels like a choice. Tyreek Hill's season ended in a single painful twist that felt like the NFL's cruelest kind of punctuation. A routine catch, a tangle near the sideline, and then an air cast, a stretcher, and the clinical language every fan dreads. Tests confirmed the worst, a dislocated knee with multiple torn ligaments, including an ACL, and surgery followed. The Dolphins listed him as out for the season. The image of Hill being helped off in front of a stunned Hard Rock Stadium is the kind of highlight that keeps replay editors and podcasts busy for weeks. ESPN.com. But this story didn't end in a locker room. In the quiet that follows emergency surgery, Hill has been honest in a way that makes uncomfortable headlines. He hasn't decided whether he'll play again. He told reporters he'll have a conversation with mom, family, everybody, and that the decision about his future will hinge on how he feels mentally and physically, not some external deadline. That candor is rare in the league's usual PR choreography. It reads like a man weighing legacy against long-term health. AP News. And then the internet did what it always does. It turned the pause into a pivot. Over the last 48 hours, multiple outlets reported that Hill has quietly launched a side hustle while rehabbing. He's been spotted exploring DJ work and even teased a new DJ persona on social media, joking, "Coming to play house music near you." Local nightlife chatter turned into national headlines as publications picked up the thread. The injured superstar spinning records while his knee heals. Whether this is a full-blown career change, a hobby, or a rehab-era distraction, it's now part of the narrative that will follow him back to the field or beyond it. PFSN. Let's put the human reality next to the clickbait. A torn ACL and multiple ligament damage are not just surgery and a practice report. They involve months of painstaking rebuilding, swelling control, graft healing, gradual loading, neuromuscular retraining, and tens of thousands of reps before even thinking about contact. That pathway can be humbling. For an elite athlete whose identity has long been tied to speed, explosion, and the ability to outrun defenders like he has a cheat code, the psychological work is as heavy as the physical. Hill saying he's happy with the career that I've had is the kind of line that carries two directions: gratitude for what's been and an honesty about what might be next. Sky Sports Now, the locker room and league stakes. Tyreek Hill is more than a receiver with a highlight reel. He's a brand, a market mover, and a contract on the books with one season left. The Dolphins and their medical staff have to balance short-term optics with long-term reality. Rushing rehab for a playoff push could sabotage a career. Sitting and rebuilding carefully could cost a team an edge this year. For Hill personally, that calculus includes family, finances, and a legacy. Do you chase one more Super Bowl window and risk long-term mobility, or do you step away on your own terms with a resume most players only dream of? Those are private conversations that suddenly matter publicly. AP News. If Hill truly leans into music, whether it's a serious second act as a DJ or a lighthearted side hustle while he heals, it wouldn't be unprecedented. Athletes have built second careers in the arts, business, and media for decades. The difference here is timing and tone. The chatter started as a social media quip and evolved into headlines framed as career change. For some fans, that's cathartic. The star is smiling, life goes on. For others, it's unsettling. They want their best player back on the field. The truth is probably both. Hill is rewiring how he spends time during a forced pause, and that's wise. People rehabilitate with purpose: hobbies, learning a trade, or retooling a brand. This is simply Hill's choice of outlet. Essentially sports, there are three practical things that matter next, and they're the three notes every team will obsess over until draft day. 1. Medical roadmap. Timeline and benchmarks will determine everything. Is his ACL graft healing on schedule? How does the rehab progress from straight-line jogging to lateral cutting? The Dolphins' reports and Hill's own updates will either calm or inflame speculation. Sky Sports 2. Contract and cap. Hill has 1 year left on his deal. Financial modeling, guarantees, potential release design, roster insurance will shape how Miami balances patience and roster needs. Teams don't always keep an injured non-QB star if the cap math and future plan demand a pivot. That's reality. The optics of a player exploring other passions won't help or hurt the ledger, but the timeline will. The Times of India 3, the comeback narrative. If Hill decides he wants to return, the narrative will be redemption, rebuild, rehab, and one last run. If he chooses to step away, the storyline becomes reinvention, a champion who knows when the signal says enough. Either path is a story that will define his final public chapter. Let's be honest about the cultural friction here. Fans live in two places at once. They want the spectacle, and they have a moral stake in a player's health. When a star is seen smiling, promoting a sponsor, or teasing a DJ set while rehabbing, it irritates some people who equate rest with quitting. But the modern athlete is also an entrepreneur. Downtime gets monetized, repurposed, and narrativized. That doesn't make the choice callous, it makes it pragmatic. If you were Tyreek Hill, would you rather be idle and invisible while your body mends, or keep building skills that pay dividends when football is no longer the center stage? For many players, the second option is obvious: Newsweek.com. So what should fans believe today? Believe the facts. Hill's knee injury is serious, and he underwent surgery. Believe his words. He hasn't made a final decision about returning. Treat the DJ headlines as context, not verdict. This is a pivot, not necessarily a retirement. Celebrities react to long recoveries in different ways, and the media will always prefer a neat narrative. Reality rarely offers one. ESPN.com, close your eyes on this image. Tyreek Hill on his couch, a man with 1,000 highlight reels behind him, putting on headphones, fingers skimming a turntable, a rehab schedule open on his phone. It's a small domestic scene, but it contains everything: past speed, present vulnerability, and the possibility of new rhythms. Whether the soundtrack is house music in a Miami club or the roar of stadiums in 2026, Hill's next act will be a choice he makes with the people who matter most. For now, the ball is quietly in his hands. PFSN. If you want this turned into a tight 8-minute video script with exact VO lines, B-roll cues, hospital footage montage, social media posts, DJ clips, rehab footage, family moments, and timestamps ready for your editor, I'll write it in American English and drop it straight into your timeline. Imagine sprinting past a defender, the crowd rising with you, and then, in the blink it takes to blink, the game stops and your entire life rearranges. That's the weird, brutal shortcut from what if to what now that Tyreek Hill is living through right now. 1 second he's the fastest name on a roster, a highlight reel staple, and the next he's under lights for a different kind of scan, hearing doctors and rehab plans instead of play calls. The image of him being helped off after that Week 4 sideline tackle, the smile that leaked into headlines, felt like a riddle. What do you do when the thing you love looks like it might cost you everything? foxsports970am.iheart.com. Act 1. The Snap. You've watched Tyreek for a decade. The suddenness, the seam-splitting routes, the way he turns a routine catch into an optical illusion of separation. But football is a fragile theater. Against the Jets, a tackle bent his knee in a way that made grown men wince. The tests came back worse than a simple sprain, multiple torn ligaments and a torn ACL, and surgery followed. In an instant, the calendar flipped from game planning to recovery timelines, from schematic adjustments to therapy regimens. This isn't a hiccup, it's a structural thing that will demand patience, operations, and an enormous amount of work to walk back from. foxsports970am.iheart.com. Act 2. The Hangover and the Options. Here's where the story thickens, the human part the headlines sometimes miss. After surgery came the quiet parts, nights of swelling, the first tentative steps in a sterile gym, the moments when you realize rehab is mostly boring repetition and tiny victories. Tyreek has been candid, not dramatic, just honest. "I'm happy with the career that I've had," he told a podcast, and then added the sentence that made everyone lean in: "Maybe it's time to talk to family about what comes next." Retirement isn't an on-off switch for someone who built a life around being explosive. It's a conversation with the people who matter and with your own body. He's weighing where his mindset is, and that kind of honesty is unnerving and brave in equal measure. NFL.com. But while all that internal work was happening, something else popped up that felt almost coy. Tyreek started teasing a different identity, one where the beat matters as much as the blitz. Reports surfaced that he's been spending time learning the decks, joking about DJ gigs, and even confirming a DJ interest online. It reads like the modern athlete's survival